Here's the one thing I have learned in my own journey as a SaaS founder over the last 15 years. Founders that embrace sales and marketing, that embrace founder-led go-to-market in the early stages win. Founders who try to outsource it, who don't want to do sales and marketing, who thinks it's kind of beneath them, they consistently lose. Here's the big question though. What does founder-led go-to-market even mean? If you don't know anything about sales and marketing, how do you embrace founder-led go-to-market to actually get to product market fit and to drive scale? If you are thinking about hiring go-to-market leaders and practitioners to do your go-to-market, how do you make sure you don't make the most common mistakes? In this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 principles you absolutely need to know about the founder-led go-to-market journey. Why it's not forever, but it's absolutely essential when you're trying to get to the first $3 million of revenue for your SaaS business. And when you apply these principles, you will be able to embrace founder-led go-to-market and you'll be able to accelerate your path to that next stage of growth so that you can actually build that amazing go-to-market team. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS business faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you are new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, that way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're already part of this channel, we just hit 38,000 subscribers. I'm so incredibly excited. Also, Happy New Year, Happy 2023. So excited across all these funds to serve you at a higher level than ever before. Also, if you are already part of this community, if you're part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching programs, my people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. Now, when I first started in my SaaS journey, baby TK was an engineer. I still am an engineer, I still code, but my first product that I built, the true SaaS product that I was trying to bring into the market for the first time ever, wasn't really doing anything. It didn't hit the market because I got stuck in the one more feature trap. I thought that if I just kept building more features and made it beefier and made it more compelling, people would be compelled to buy. I didn't embrace sales and marketing, and that product never saw the light of day. However, in contrast, with ToutApp, my last startup, I embraced sales and marketing. I embraced founder-led go-to-market, and because I did that, within the first week of launching the product, we were generating revenues. Fast forward, we grew ToutApp, we raised from the likes of Andreessen Horowitz, we sold the company, and the rest is history. What I really learned in that process is that founder-led go-to-market is extremely important in order to get success for your early stage company. On top of that, over the last 2 to 3 years, I've worked with over 250 founders inside of my go-to-market coaching program, and I saw this pattern play out over and over. The founders that truly embraced go-to-market, truly embraced sales and marketing, always got to that next stage of growth. The ones that tried to outsource it, thought that sales and marketing was beneath them, they just didn't break through. So in this episode, I wanted to do an episode on what are the 3 biggest principles I learned in this stage of founder-led go-to-market. Why is it important? How do you embrace it? What to watch out for? Why it's not forever? And how, if you apply these principles, you too will be able to win and grow the SaaS business that you are building to that next stage of growth so that you can actually hire those amazing go-to-market leaders so they can take that to the next level. So if you're excited to dig into principle number 1, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really likes it when you do that, and let's dive right into it. Okay, so for principle number 1, what I want to walk you through is the biggest mistake that founders make is they think that founder-led go-to-market is forever. They look at sales and marketing and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this forever. What they don't realize is it's only for a specific stage of the company they need to be doing it. And if they do it, they can actually get to the subsequent stages faster with higher likelihood of success. So the big thing that I always highlight in principle number 1 is, let's just say this is $0 in revenue, and this is $10 million in annual recurring revenue. In between these stages, there are certain inflection points. The first inflection point is you make some money. The second inflection point is you make $1 million, and the third inflection point is you get to 3 million. Each of these stages require a different level of involvement for founders. And what I've seen in my own journey, and also all the founders that I coach, is between the $0 to $3 million stage is your first inflection point. And then from the 3 million to 10 million and then onwards is your next inflection point that you need to watch out for. When you are trying to go from either no revenue or a little bit of revenue to this first $3 million, you absolutely need to make sure that you are founder-led. This is the founder-led zone right over here. Principle number 2, I'm going to explain exactly what happens in the founder-led zone, and it's only founders that can truly navigate this stage, and why founders that embrace it actually win. There's a very specific reason for it. The second inflection point comes when you hit about $1 million in revenue and you're trying to get to 3 million. This is the stage where it's still founder-led, but you actually add leverage. And we're going to talk about what that leverage looks like in principle number 3. And then finally, once you break past 3 million, as you're going from 3 million to 6 million, 6 to 10, this is when you start getting into founder plus GTM leaders. And this is when you truly bring on your VP of marketing, your VP of sales, your VP of demand generation, depending on what stage of the journey you are and what type of market you're selling into. This essentially is the inflection point that you go through when you are building out your SaaS business. Founders that try to outsource sales and marketing and outsource their go-to-market, whether it's to an agency or to a junior person that's never done this before, at this stage right here is where the majority of the mortality happens. If you outsource sales and marketing and go-to-market at this stage where you're trying to get to this initial 3 million, startups tend to die faster. Now let's get into why. Now that you know what the inflection points are, you know that this is not forever. Meaning, once you get initial revenues going, you get to about $1 million to 3 million, you can actually have capital to go get leverage. Once you start getting leverage, you have enough momentum to be able to attract great VPs of marketing, VPs of sales, and VPs of demand gen. Until that time, until you get to this stage, you won't really get a great VP of marketing join your risky startup. They just won't join. There's too much demand for them. Until you get to this stage, you won't know exactly the type of leverage to hire for, which is why it's super important to really focus on the zone and make sure you're embracing founder-led. Let's dig into what exactly happens during this founder-led journey. As I went through my founder-led journey, this is where I really learned principle number 2, and that's really what I built my go-to-market program around. There's 3 essential components to a successful SaaS company. The first one is market. The second one is product. This is the SaaS product that you're building. And the third one is go-to-market. Now, first-time founders tend to over-index on product. They tend to think about what is this amazing product that I can build that we can then figure out how to sell into the market. And the biggest mistake that I see with early-stage founders, and I've been guilty of this in the past, is you build a product in this stage, right? You double down on product because that's what you're good at. If you're an engineer, I'm an engineer, like let's build amazing product. And then you say, look, cool, I'm gonna go hire this VP of marketing to go sell it for me and drive demand for me. And then you try to tell them like, go figure out where the market is and what the go-to-market is and go sell it. I did this in the past and it was a complete disaster because founders are the only people that can figure out how to optimize for all 3 of these things. A great VP of marketing also is not the type of person that will come in and take that much risk to join your early stage startup. Likely you're gonna end up with someone that's not very good, but can actually sell themselves, but not anything else. Which is why what I've seen in this stage is founders, especially second-time founders, they actually don't start with product. They first start with market. What is the urgent and important problem? In what market are we actually solving for? And based on that, they design their product. So when they're building the product, they already have the market they're going into in mind. And as they're building the product, as they're targeting the market, they're already doing basic go-to-market activities to make sure that they're building the right thing and getting initial revenues flowing and scaling those revenues so they have momentum, so they have proof points from the market, so that they can use that to get more leverage, raise more money, and hire greater and greater people. This process where you're figuring out what is the market, how does the market dynamics feed into what we build in the product, how do we get conversations going so we can bring the product into the market, this loop that you're optimizing for turns out to be something that only founders are able to do. Because guess what? In the early stages, when you're sub $3 million of ARR, and I've talked to founders across all these stages, you're still talking to the customers. The product's not perfect. And you're really trying to understand, what do they really need? What really gets deals done? What features do we actually need to build? And what are the times where they're just politely saying no? But really they're saying, if you build this feature, then we'll buy, but that'll never be the case. They're just politely saying no. That's the optimization that is happening in this entire stage right over here in the $0 to $3 million stage. In the $0 to $3 million stage, you're constantly improving on your thesis for market, for your product, and for your go-to-market. And little by little, you're trying to see what's fitting. Everyone thinks they know what product market fit is and what's composed of that, but really this is the optimization that's actually going on up until $3 million of ARR. What you're really figuring out is, what is the market, what is the core product, what is the urgent important problem, and how do we bring the product into the market consistently? Once you start doing that, then you start to get these revenues flowing, and that allows you to go out there and say, okay, you know what? We've got something here. Some of these pieces are working. Let's go get some leverage on taking over some of the pieces that I'm doing that I don't need to be doing anymore. And this is where I often see founders, the successful ones that I've worked with, hire a demand generation marketer. Because now you can say, hey, this is the market to go after. Here's what our product does. Here's what I've already done to get our initial revenues. Go make it better. This is the case where we see founders hiring SDRs. So you can say, here's our value proposition. Go cold call these people and get them on meetings and I'll close them. This is when I see founders starting to hire some AEs, because they're like, I know how to close these deals. Here's my playbook. I'm going to teach you how to do it so you can start closing these deals and I can focus on higher value activities. When you embrace founder-led at this stage, you can then switch to founder-led plus leverage by hiring these individual roles, which are a lot cheaper than a VP of marketing or a VP of sales. This is also powerful because you actually are now building up the scaffolding of your company. So when you do get into this stage and get more momentum and raise additional funding, your pitch to these great VPs of marketing is, hey, look, we're still risky at $3 million, but look at what we're doing on a shoestring budget. Just based on my founder-led go-to-market and a few AEs and an SDR and a demand gen manager, here's the type of pipeline we're generating. Here's how much we're selling. Here's the customers we have. And all of a sudden, recruiting a great VP of marketing or a VP of sales becomes that much easier as you break past 3 million, raise more money, and get towards 10 million ARR. Now, you might be asking, okay, I see the logic behind why founder-led makes sense, why only founders can do this piece, how founder-led is not forever. I get leverage at first, and then I can hire the true leaders, and I can see how I'm building momentum and recruiting great people becomes easier because I've built up that scaffolding. But you may be wondering, what does founder-led actually look like? Like, what do I work on? If I'm an engineer, how do I embrace sales and marketing? I don't want to be cheesy and weird. That's principle number 3. But before I go into principle number 3, let me just pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? Are you starting to see the power? Why this is almost like a little bit of an obvious secret, why founder-led go-to-market companies always win, consistently win, because they always find a way forward. They always find that product market fit. They're able to recruit the right people. They're able to get momentum. They're able to be capital efficient. They're able to raise more money. They're able to attract great VPs because the founders actually owned the go-to-market. They led that founder-led go-to-market stage. If you're starting to see the power in this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? That way I know you're with me. Also, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really likes it when you do that. And so do we, because we put a lot of love into these videos. Also, if you're in this stage where you have some revenues and you're looking to drive to 3 million ARR and beyond, and you're in this founder-led go-to-market journey, and you want some help, you want to work with me to actually follow the right steps to build out your go-to-market strategy and execute on it, then be sure to check out my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. It's an incredible program. You don't have to go anywhere right now. I'll link to it below. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this video. But let's go to principle number 3 that digs into exactly what you need to be doing to embrace founder-led. Now you know what the stages are. You know what is going on and why only founders can do this stage. You know that it's not forever. You get into leverage, you hire the right people, and then you get into hiring the great leaders, and you're able to recruit great leaders instead of the shitty people that would join a shitty company because they have no other options. You get all that. Now you're like, cool, how do I embrace founder-led? In order to build out an early stage go-to-market strategy and to actually scale revenues, there are 3 key components. And this will align with everything I've told you. The first component is your ideal customer profile. Your ideal customer profile is a clear definition of exactly what market you're going into. what segment, what type of company, what industry, what vertical, what are triggers. There's a whole bunch of things that go into a proper ideal customer profile. Every time I work with founders, we go through a proper ICP exercise. And every single founder that's gone through, they're like, we thought we did an ICP, but I had it in my head and I kind of winged it, but it wasn't anything and didn't get us anywhere. But when they go through mine, they get true clarity into what market they're going after. Remember, the greatest founders out there always start with market. The second piece that you want to build so this is your go-to-market strategy, right? The second piece that you want to have is your manifesto. The manifesto is essentially your strategic narrative. It combines all the key components you need to really communicate to the market why they should get your product. It communicates what your transformation is. It communicates what your value proposition is. It communicates why they need to take action now. It communicates what big change is happening to them. And if they don't take that action, why they're gonna lose out. That is your manifesto. And what happens a lot of times, especially if founders don't own this, they hire that junior person or that person that's not a very good VP of sales or marketing or an agency, they skip these two pieces. They actually just jump into running ads, writing blog posts, sending cold emails, and none of it resonates and no one responds back and you lose a bunch of money and they make a bunch of money, but you're still in square zero and you're wondering why. It's because they don't do the strategic pieces. Once you have these two pieces, you have your core go-to-market strategy. Then comes your Broadway show. Your Broadway show is a consistent set of sales and marketing activities that you and your team and your co-founders can run, and then eventually you'll hire the leverage to continue to run, and then the leaders to scale to actually bring your manifesto to your ICP. Do you blog? Do you do TikTok? Do you go on LinkedIn? Do you run ads? These are all different strategies that you can run. And what ends up happening with amateurs is they do a random thing every single week and nothing compounds and there's no channel mastery. But if you pick the right channel and you double down on it and you run a consistent set of sales and marketing activities every week, then you're able to get that initial momentum going and revenues flowing, which then allows you to hire people so you can increase the consistency and the scale, which then allows you to hire even more great leaders because your revenues keep scaling. It also allows you to raise additional funding, whether it's through debt or through venture capital, either works. These are the three components that you need to learn in order to embrace this founder-led go-to-market journey. And you might be saying like, hey, I'm no expert in sales and marketing, neither am I. Well, now I am because I really worked hard at it. But when I was first starting out and I was scaling ToutApp, I didn't know either. And I had to figure out a lot of these things through reading 200 books and trial and error and talking to people. This is exactly why there's so many founders out there that make this mistake in this stage. This is why I have my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. Now, before I talk more about that, let me highlight exactly what we covered over here. In order to embrace founder-led, you need to understand that it's not forever. It's for this very specific stage where you get the initial momentum going, figuring out what's the market, what's the product, what's the initial go-to-market so you can get revenues flowing. As that is flowing, you get more resources. You use those resources to get individual people to own specific parts and continue the execution. As that execution goes, as you scale, then you raise more funding, get more resources, and you hire and recruit those great VPs of marketing and VPs of sales to take these individuals over and scale the organizations. This allows you to have a consistent process on how you lead go-to-market and then bring on the leaders to take them over and scale it instead of hiring people that really don't know what they're doing. And when you're embracing it, what you're doing is these three components. What's your ideal customer profile? What's your manifesto? And what is the Broadway show that you're running to make sure that you are set up for success? Now you know exactly how to embrace founder-led go-to-market, why it's important, what exactly happens in it, and what are the critical components for it. What you may not know is how do you actually do these pieces? How do you actually build out your ICP? How do you have a great manifesto that is effective? And how do you run a Broadway show between you and your co-founders and your team and then scale from there? You may not also know, well, how do I hire the right people and in what sequence? And how do I know who's any good? If you're at this stage where you're running a company where you have some revenues and you're looking to get to at least that $3 million mark, this is exactly why I created my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. Inside of this program, you and I work together to actually embrace founder-led go-to-market, and I teach you exactly the steps to follow to build out your ideal customer profile, to flesh out your manifesto, and then bring that manifesto to your ICP on a consistent basis with using a Broadway show so that you can scale your revenues and your team and accelerate your path to that next stage of growth. It's an incredible program. We've had so many amazing companies go through it and be successful, and that's why I learned a lot of these principles and really clarified the things that I'm teaching you in this video. So if you want to work together, just go to tkcater.com/GTM, tkcater.com/GTM. Over there, you'll get all the details about the program, and you'll be able to fill out a little form to get on a call with us. If it sounds like we're a fit and we can actually help you, we'll be off to the races. We'll get started working together right away. Just go to tkcater.com/GTM or just follow the link below. Also, if you got value from this video, if you're getting excited about founder-led go-to-market and then being able to scale your company in this way, be sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm that really likes it when you do that, and so do we, because we put a lot of love into these videos. If you have a fellow SaaS founder, if you have a co-founder or a member of your team that will get value from this video, please share this video with them so that they too can see the power of founder-led go-to-market and how important it is to the success of your company. If you're part of a Slack group, a WhatsApp group where others would get value, please share this video over there as well. We want to help as many SaaS founders as possible in their journey to building incredible SaaS businesses. Lastly, I also drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches, from actually being a founder and working with over 250 founders today. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon that you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode or inside of the SaaS Go-to-Market Coaching Program. See you later.